It's Robin Castleman, and I'm back. Eric Straub and Victoria Singer here with me, and they're from the law offices of Whitlow, Roberts, Hughes, Houston, and Straub, if I can get that out. And they're answering estate law questions for me. So y'all ready to keep going?
We are.
Okay. All right. So our next caller says, can I leave my house to my children in my will, but let my spouse live in it until they die?
Yes, you can do that. What you're going to want to do is what they call a life estate deed. You're going to want to have your spouse as the person who retains a life estate in the property when you pass, and then your children will need to be listed as those that take it on when you pass. But that's the easiest way to do it, and to make sure that your husband or wife can still live on the property once you've passed.
Gotcha.
And it would also depend on what the ownership of your residence is. For example, if spouse and spouse own the house together, the first spouse who dies may not be able to leave that house to their surviving spouse because the deed automatically transfers it to the surviving spouse, similar to the bank accounts we talked about earlier.
Gotcha.
So it's definitely something to look into. There's ways to do it. You'd have to just check on a few things to make sure it's done properly.
Gotcha. Okay, especially if you've been married for a long time, we probably set that stuff up and don't even think about it, and then we get older and it's like, maybe I need to revisit some of that.
Right. How many times do you ever look at your deed?
1990 never?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so this person says, if I create a revocable living trust, do I still need a will?
Yes, we typically advise our clients who want a revocable living trust, which one of its main purposes is to be able to avoid the probate process, but that you would still need a will. One of the reasons for that is that you want to be able to name your executor, and if you were to have some sort of accident near your death or something that needed to be handled, you want to be able to choose who that executor is, and they'd still be in charge of your estate, even if there are no assets in your estate because they go through the trust. The other part that we usually put in there or advise is that it's called a pour-over will, and essentially the will leaves everything to your trust to ensure that every piece of your property goes in the way that you want it to go under that trust. If you were to buy something later on and not title it in the name of your revocable living trust, the will would catch it and transfer it into the trust to be divided among or to your beneficiaries as you have it defined in there. So that's the long answer to the short answer being, yes, it is advisable to still have a will if you have a revocable living trust.
So will is kind of that catch-all.
Right. It's the catch-all provision, sort of like I say, the pour-over will, meaning that anything that you didn't already have in your trust at the time is going to pour over into that trust, and those assets that pour over will then be divided to your beneficiaries.
Perfect. Okay. I'm sure a lot of people have this question. Can I set up my estate so that my kids don't get their inheritance all at once? I'm afraid that they would wouldn't spend it responsibly because they are so young.
Oh, absolutely. One tool that you can use for estate planning is a trust. A trust will let you stretch it out as long as you want, at different intervals. So let's say you want your kids to receive some right before they start college, or when they turn 21, 25, 30, 40, however, whatever period that you want to set up for them, a trust will allow you to do that. And it's also a good way to protect the assets, especially if you got someone that likes to spend a little too much now and again.
Gotcha. Well, all of this is great information, and I so appreciate you guys coming and helping us answer these questions. And we come back.
We appreciate you having us, and we'd love to come back if you'll have us, Robin.
All right. Well, you guys, if you want to revisit this segment of Legal Line, log on to WPSDLocal6.com and click Legal Line.
All right, thank you, Robin. And before we go, a record low number of adults in the U.S. are consuming alcohol, according to a new Gallup poll. The percentage of adults who say they consume alcohol has fallen to 54%, the lowest number by 1 percentage point in Gallup's nearly 90-year trend. That decline appears to be linked to growing health concerns. According to the data, a record high 53% of U.S. adults say moderate drinking is bad for their health, up 28% from 2015. And a quick reminder, milling and paving is underway on Jefferson Street in Paducah, with one lane open from 16th to 28th Street. Residents in the area are asked to avoid street parking during the work, and drivers should watch for cruise and traffic control signs. The project is expected to wrap up by this Monday, August 18th, weather permitting.
Well, as long as they're cool with some really hot weather, I think we're probably going to be okay out there. It is going to be a sizzling hot weekend. Now, today we do have a few pop-up showers and thunderstorms out across parts of western Kentucky. Right now, that activity is centered kind of east of Fredonia over toward Dawson Springs, and we'll have a handful more pop-up storms through the afternoon. Mid-90s tomorrow, upper 90s over the weekend, all the way up to about 99 by Monday.
All right, Trent, thank you. And thank you for watching Local 6 Midday.
The red, white, and